We're back to the Total Education Celebrity Show on the Total Education Network. Again, TotalTutor.net for more information. Twitter, Total Tutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook for the Beach Lifestyle, Simply G Media celebrity segment. And I want to welcome my co-host, Jarrett. Jarrett, you've joined me for another one, but again, this is education related, so I said I had to call you. How are you, Jarrett?
I'm doing wonderful, Neil. Can't wait to get started and really find out some terrific information.
Well, absolutely. And the guy that we're about to introduce, again, former professional wrestler just like myself, but former WCW champion, was a mainstay in the WWF for so many years, but now he's here to really raise awareness of bullying. So I want to welcome to the program celebrity Marc Mero. Marc, thanks for calling.
Neil, Jared, thank you guys for having me on your show today.
Well, absolutely. It's fantastic that you're on, and I'm excited to talk to you. And again, I remember watching your career when I was working the indies and stuff and all the different gimmicks you did and all these things. But I'm so happy to hear that the great things that you're doing in the community to help others and really raise awareness, especially of bullying. This is just becoming just ridiculous what's happening in the schools, right, Marc?
It's really sad, Neil. I'm seeing, I'm screaming from the rooftops. We are losing our next generation if more is not done in our schools around the country. We are seeing so many kids that are going through isolation, loneliness, depression, being bullied or abused, which leads to burning, cutting, and worst case suicidal thoughts, and of course suicide, which is now the third leading cause of death amongst young people today. It's a scary time for our young people, and I started this program 7 years ago because I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to try my best to do something about it and help, change and save as many students as I possibly can.
And that's so great. And Jarrett, we talk about this when we bring celebrities on and athletes on, that literally they want to give back. They've had a successful life, and they want to see how they help others, Jarrett.
And it's terrific when we do see that. And the question I have for Marc is, at what point in your career, Marc, did you begin to recognize this as an area that you felt that you could make a difference in?
Well, Jared, there's two types of people. There's people that say something needs to be done, and then there's a person that says, I want to go out and do something. I think I sat back so many years of my life watching things happen that I would say, something needs to be done about this, something needs to be done about that. And when I finally got to the point in my life where I said, you know what, I want to be a guy that goes out there and does something, and I want to make a difference. And I so understood and see the nature of what young people are going through today that I realized that I can make a difference by sharing my story with these young people and putting together programs at school where we have the top anti-bullying program, suicide prevention, substance abuse and goal-setting programs within our schools today. And we're on pace to do about 200 presentations this year. I mean, it almost feels like I'm back in the wrestling industry the way we used to travel before. And it's just, but now it's for such a greater cause in my life. And I've never felt more of a purpose for a living and waking up every day and realizing that we can all make a difference if we just stop making excuses and we go out there and try and make a difference.
Marc, that's so important, and you're right. When you truly have a passion, a purpose in life, just to go and do a greater thing and to help others, it just makes you so passionate. So traveling all over the country, it's not like when you were in the wrestling business where it's just like constantly this grind draining you. You know every time you're ready to go because you know you're helping others. And I got to commend you for that. But really I wanted to know specifically, tell us a little bit about the campaign. How do you help out the schools when you go in and do talks?
Oh, sure. This is where it's really, first of all, when we walk out to anywhere from 500 to 4,000 students at a time. We do, full school assemblies, gymnasiums, and they're huge. We have our own tour bus where we come and we set up our own speakers, our screens, everything. And, coming from the World Wrestling Federation, you have that entertainment background where you got to make it bigger than life, when you put these assemblies together, because you've got to captivate and entertain students. You can't walk out there and start spewing, statistics to kids. They could care less about statistics. But you go out there and put on an entertaining presentation. But we really found by touching the student's heart is how you change their mind. And we utilize stories of young people that have taken their life, because many kids that hurt other kids don't realize what students go through. They don't know if their parents are going through a divorce or there's been a death in the family or they're struggling with addictions or eating disorders or whatever, and they tell the student how ugly, stupid, and worthless they are. And the kid feels hopeless, and many times it leads to, self-harming or, in worst case, suicidal thoughts and taking their own lives. And I've been to so many funerals now of young people who have taken their life. And the one thing that I see at funerals is the parents. I get to meet the parents, and many of the parents I become very good friends with. And they say to me, Mark, if I only knew, if he or she only would have told me, I would have saved my child's life. But, and that's what we do in our programs is we get kids to open up and talk about the adversity they're going through. And we often see, after we do a school, I receive hundreds of letters from students on how it changed or even saved their life. It got them to open up to their parents or talk to a counselor or to reach out and talk to someone about addictions or cutting or self-harming or whatever they're going through. And that's where we're seeing the difference in our programs.
And being able to reach the youth, Jarrett, that's the key thing. And what Mark's able to do is talk to the kids. And kids have so much to share, and Jarrett and I, all as educators, know the way we're going to find out what's wrong with our students and how they need our help is by talking to them. Right, Jarrett?
Well, right, and again, finding out what the young people identify with, not going in there with a lecture or something that comes off as another adult coming into their lives and telling the young people right and wrong, reaching them on their level. And what I really appreciated, what Mark said that he is addressing with the young people that he's speaking with, is he's reaching out to the actors in these presentations, the people that are putting forth the abuse, but he's also reaching out to the people that are experiencing it, the young people that might feel totally alone, and letting them know that not only aren't they alone, but he's showing them options that they have.
Jerry, you are so right. As educators, you guys can appreciate and understand that, and that's the most important thing is to get these kids to realize that they're not alone. There's a lot of kids that are going through this adversity, but if you hold it inside, I often compare it to like a volcano when a student holds something inside, especially if they're being bullied or abused in some way. And sooner or later, because I've been doing this a long time, I see that volcano eventually erupt, and many times it erupts in negative behavior, alcohol, drugs, being promiscuous, hurting, bullying, or another student because of maybe the pain that you're going through. Not that makes it right, but it also leads to the burning, the cutting, and of course the suicidal thoughts. But to get kids to open up and talk about their adversity is the most important thing, where they feel that they're not alone. They feel that there is hope. They feel that there is someone that cares. Because when I'm at these funerals, the one thing that the kid left in the suicide note is that nobody's going to miss me, nobody's going to care if I'm not here, and they're so wrong. These kids were so loved, and they never really understand how much they are loved, and that's why when I do my night presentations for the families, for the parents to come back from to the evening shows, we talk about that and how important it is for you to make sure you always let your kid know how much you love them, and try not to lecture them about their problems. They want to feel like they can talk to you about that. And I often talk to students when they feel like I can't talk to my parent about that. I often say, think about if you had a child. Wouldn't you want them to come to you and tell you about them cutting themselves, them feeling like they don't want to be here no more? You'd be like devastated if they didn't tell you. And I want you to think about your parents and how they would feel. And it really gets kids to start thinking and looking outside the box of just being in their own world, in their own cubicle where nobody cares, nobody's going to matter, or nothing's going to ever happen good for me. And I give these kids hope, and that's why we have a goal-setting program where we talk to kids about what they want to do when they get older. What are their goals and dreams? What do they enjoy? What is their passion? They often say when you find your passion, you never have to work.
Yes.
I found my passion because I love what I do. Every morning I can't wait to wake up and go to another school, another corporation, another church, another presentation, another opportunity to make a difference in this world. The more we give, the more we get back in our own lives. And I've never realized it as much until I started doing this.
We're talking to Marc Mero, former WCW heavyweight champion plus WWF superstar, and now turned anti-bullying helping in so many different ways, kids and teenagers, and seeing specific things. Marc, one thing I liked what you talked about your program, and how you're always there to visit, and you're feeling bad about when kids end up committing suicide. You want to work with the parent, because the parent is the key to that child. And if you're not educating the parents, the kids are not going to make those changes. And I think that's key, that what you do in your program.
Neil, you are so right. I often tell people, it doesn't matter who's in the White House. It matters who's in your house. We have got to start taking control. Our parents have let the boundaries out too far. And kids really want boundaries as much. I get all the letters. The reason why we structured our programs, we structured around the letters that we get. The kids are talking to us about what they want. And kids really want boundaries. They want to have relationships with their parents. I often go to dinner with my wife, and we're out at dinner, and just a couple weeks ago we were at like an Outback Steakhouse, I think it was, and there was a big round table next to us. And there was a parent with 5 children, and all of them were on their cell phones. A couple of kids had earplugs in, and the parents even were on their phones texting. I'm thinking to my wife, I go, this is a night out with the family. What has happened to our families in this country? Well, we feel we can't even talk to each other anymore. We feel we don't even have those relationships, and oftentimes a parent is a single parent now, and I think that's where kids relate to my story. My dad left when I was 8 years old, and my mom worked 2 jobs, and they could really relate to me growing up, having dreams and goals and wanting to make something of my life, and then making it to the pinnacle of professional sports entertainment, but then blowing it all because of bad choices, drugs, alcohol, doing stupid things in life, just basically making bad choices. And then realizing, that the only way I'm going to make it or ever be really happy in life, and happiness is a choice, is to start making those good choices. Now, those bad choices became learning experiences, and I try to share those with other kids, that they don't have to go through those things that I went through.
So true. And Jarrett, we talk about this when any of these professional athletes come on. Kids listen. Parents listen, because they have gone through it, and it just really helps the kids understand this, right, Jarrett?
Neil, just perfectly stated, and I love what Marc said during our interviews with the athletes that are giving back to the community. I'm always struck by how each week an athlete says something that sounds so simple, but is so profound. And I like what Marc said. It doesn't matter who's in the White House. It matters who's in your house. And there was, again, just a wonderful statement that says so much with a few words. Marc, when you're speaking with the adults, with Neil and I in our work and during our interviews, we have sometimes found it surprising and are struck by the number of adults that think that bullying is just not a big deal. It's not any different than it was 50 years ago, and it may not be. It might be just as serious as it was 50 years ago, but the results, the outcomes seem to be so different today with young people. How do you help adults recognize, school teachers, principals, parents? How do you help them see that this is serious? The kids don't always bounce back from this.
Well, first of all, we in Orange County here in Orlando area, they just had a statistic that came out that just shocked everybody. They interviewed all the kids in Orange County, and 8% of the students in Orange County, Florida, which is one of our largest counties out here, 8% of the students said that they have attempted suicide. Not thought about it, attempted suicide. How scary is that thought? Jared, when we were in high school, and Neil, we were in high school. I'm sure I'm older than you guys, but we were in high school. We never see a kid that was cutting themselves or burning themselves, or I didn't know any kids that wanted to kill themselves.
No.
Back then you kind of knew who the school bully was, or you got to stay away from that guy or that girl or whatever it was. But today, the problem is that with social media, we can wake up in the morning now. The kids wake up in the morning now and they get ready for school and they get on their social media. They read how ugly, stupid, and worthless they are. It isn't just when you're at school. It can be 24/7, and sometimes you don't even know who's doing the bullying. These kids have these fake accounts, and they just constantly belittle you and just badger you over and over and over again, where you start, perception becomes a reality, and you start believing this hype. Maybe I'm not pretty. Maybe I really am ugly. Maybe I am fat and ugly and stupid and worthless, and you start believing this. And that's what happens with these kids, is that they start hurting themselves. And, bullying, when they say, well, yeah, we had bullying when we were a kid. We call each other names, and we still have that today. But it's nothing compared to when I was a kid. I meet with these kids. I see the pain on these kids' faces. I have met with the parents that have lost a loved one, through suicide. I see the pain, and I never experienced that when I was younger. Most kids today either know someone that committed suicide or they know someone that committed suicide. I never knew anybody that committed suicide when I was a kid.
Me either, and that's scary. And Mark, it's something I know. One of the things that you talk about is your importance of your faith in this whole thing. You're looking at ultimately you're doing this. You have a purpose in life, and that you, after reforming yourself, overcoming alcohol and drugs, making the wrong choices when you were in the WWF and WCW, and changing your life and transforming it. You see your faith as an important part of this, isn't it?
Absolutely. In schools I can't talk about my faith in Jesus Christ, but, I got to tell you something. If someone speaks to me more than 5 minutes, they know who I belong to. And I do it because of my faith in God. And I just can't talk about that in school. It's really sad that we're at a place in our country where, you could actually, grab your cell phone and download and look at pornography, but we can't put a nativity scene in a public park.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just absolutely crazy what is happening in our country today. And but you know what? Here's the thing: is that I want to be a light in darkness. Our greatest, if I could say this, my greatest mission field is our public schools. I really believe that with all my heart.
I agree too.
And I'm going to do everything I can for as long as I live to do the best job I possibly can, because it's about who I represent, and even though I can't say his name, I'm going to live my life for him.
Well, and that's great, especially the Christian radio stations that we have this show on, Mark, and I'm just so pleased that you're bringing this out, because my faith's so important to me, and I tell Jared all the time this, and when I read up on you and I said, I learned about your conversion, and I'm very passionate also of what's happened in professional wrestling. The way wrestling's changed to when you were in WCW to the way it has become now, and how it's just not great role models, different things, and it's fantastic to hear your transformation and your challenges. And Jared, I'm sure you're impressed by Mark, aren't you?
Of course I am. Again, we're meeting someone who is not defined by the sport that they represent. They're defined by something that is much higher and much greater.
Well, thank you, guys. I really appreciate that. When I talk to a radio show, unless they obviously tell me it's a Christian show, you got to be very careful when I go to schools, because you can't talk. You say you're better off swearing, and they'll forgive you for swearing. But if you say the word Jesus Christ at a public school, you will not be invited back to that school, and word will spread very quickly that he's out there trying to preach to our kids, because it takes one person that's maybe an atheist or a different faith to petition the school board, and they'll make sure that you'll never come back. And the Bible says, be wise as a serpent and gentle as a dove, and I really try to do that.
Well, Mark, I wanted to bring up your faith because I knew that this is a great story, a fantastic story.
You want to see me happy, you start talking about my favorite subject, and that's Jesus Christ.
Well, that's fantastic. So, Mark, where can we learn more about you? Our listeners out there can follow you and see if they'd like to get your program in their school. Where can we find it?
Yeah, we go up to New York a few times a year. We've never been out to the. You guys are in Pennsylvania, I believe,
Pittsburgh,
right?
But we're syndicated on 100+ stations, so we're talking to the world right now.
Please. Well, first of all, I want to give out our offices are in Orlando, Florida, and we travel all over the country. Our phone number is 407-862-4800, 407-862-4800. And you can also, anyone follow me on Twitter or Facebook. Mark is with a C. It's Marc Mero, M-E-R-O. So I'm at Marc Mero. And Facebook, I have my own page, which is Marc Mero Page. And, of course, our website, which is ThinkPoz, P-O-Z as in zebra, thinkpoz.org. And you could find me on any of those places. I would love to hear from folks that maybe hear this show, and I certainly would like to reach out to them, and please call me or contact me.
Well, Mark, I hope to have you back on the show in a couple months to talk more about specific things. Especially, I am here for you. I'm going to help you out. We maybe need to have a conversation off air at one point and see how, with my education connections, how we can work together to really eliminate bullying. So thanks for calling, Mark, and we'll stay in touch.
Really enjoyed talking to you guys. God bless you, and thank you so much for what you guys are doing.
All right, God
Thank
bless,
you, Mark.
Mark. Take care. All right, bye-bye. You're listening to Told You Celebrity Show, powered by the Simply G Media Network, and we'll be back in just a moment.